One second. When you're recording, you can't be having low power. All right, guys. A lot of times when we are making projects, we run into issues, and the issue that we run into is cracks. Okay, so to make these cracks, or to solve some of these problems of cracking, I'm going to give you a few solutions on how we might do that. Okay, so can I keep this here? Yeah. I'm gonna go down a little bit more. There we go. Can you guys see that detail right here? Good? Okay. All right. How to fix issues with cracks. You're gonna want some of your tools. Some of the tools you might use would be something to scrape with, something to open with. Speaking about scrape, where'd my, oh, maybe you're over there. Need to have my scraping tool. Scraping tool. I'm losing tools here, and I don't even know how. Because I'm the only one here. So I am literally the one losing them. Alright. So if I have, here, I'm going to do two. I'll try to do two examples. This is not that dry, but I'm going to, this is moldable, so still leather hard, which is nice. This would be perfect for drying. If your piece can bend this easy without cracking, this is an awesome stage to dry at. You want to make sure that you are checking your stages of clay while you're working. You don't want to, let it dry out and then think, oh, it'll be fine, nothing will happen. No, that's not what you want. You want to be able to know that the stages of clay, or the different stages of clay, so you're not just playing it by ear. You want to know your stages of clay like the back of your hand, so that you're not guessing what stage, or you're not sure about, oh, is it too soft, is it too hard. So you really got to pay attention to the different stages of clay. Right here, I'm just attaching it, okay? And we'll just pretend that we put a coil in here and that it's all nice and smooth. It's all smooth. All right. Some students were having some issues. I'm gonna put this little support back here just to hold it in place so that I can put a little bit of pressure. I'm gonna try to heat it up. It's like I'm building a wall. Sometimes if you want to make something stronger, you can go and put some supports. Okay. Ideally, you would let this dry in a bag and it would all dry nice and even and smooth, okay? So let's say this is our piece. Okay, I'll save that for later. Okay. Okay, my nice edge, there's no crack, as you can see, nothing's wrong with it. And I go and I cover it with a bag, okay? For some reason, a few days go by and I'm not able to check it, to respray it with a water bottle. So, and it dries out, and it starts to dry. And it becomes so dry that it cracks. And I'm hoping I can make that crack happen, okay? So here we go. And usually the way that it cracks is one piece of clay dries faster than the other clay, okay? This one's a little bit thicker, this one's a little bit thinner. So I'm just gonna run this right here, okay? You guys see that crack? It's hard to see. It cracked right there. But it didn't crack enough. I don't know if you guys can see that crack or not, but there's a crack right here. Okay. So, my project's cracking. Oh no. What do oh, it's really hot. Hot. So the reason why it's cracking is, because this clay is a lot more dry than this clay is. And that turns into an issue because this clay on this side, you can see it's lighter. It's a lot more dry than this clay. So in this scenario, you would say maybe this one I made 2 days ago, and then I let it dry for the weekend, and I came back and I tried to add this one onto it, okay? And then I ended up getting a crack right here. Marco, can you see that crack? It's visible? Kind of? Trying to make it more obvious. Okay. So how might I fix this crack? Well, One way is I go and I open it up a little bit more. You watching, Marco? So I made sure that this crack is open, okay? And you see that line? That's a crack. Maybe I want to really make sure that this crack is not going to come back. So I'll come over here and I'll score it up really, really well. Okay? And it's scored. If you were to look at it down here, it dips right here. So it dips in right here. Okay. Once I do that, my project is still very fragile. I might spray it, but sometimes spraying it makes it crack even more. Okay? So look how fast it absorbed that water. It's already starting to dry. Okay? So be careful with just spraying water on it. Sometimes you got to actually go and put some slip in there. You got to open it up and put, kind of glue it back together, you could say. Okay? All right. And make sure that you are putting a lot on there. Okay. Make sure that you're putting a lot on there. It's okay if it's a little thick, because you can go and smooth that slip out. Okay. With your rubber kidney, smooth it out like there was no crack at all. Make sure you push it in to those spots. Yeah, you can use your fingers too. But something that's pretty flat. If you're going with something that is like your finger, that will just mold in there, then it's going to take the space. If you're going with a sponge, the sponge is going to wipe off all that slip that's in there, a wet sponge. So don't use a sponge. Use something that has a flat edge to it. Even the smooth side or the flat side to that scraper would work. All right, now I have a little valley that I made in here, okay? And this is a dry clay that I sprayed. This is a little bit more moist clay. This one's a little bit more moist. You can see the color difference. And in the middle it's really wet because that's the slip. So what I would do is, if I can cut a thin piece of plastic and wrap just that area. Okay? So what's going to happen is this clay here is going to dry slowly, but then the edges that are touching it are going to dry slowly also, and it's going to be more evenly drying. Then I would take my whole project and cover it with a bag, okay? And then obviously you're going to put it on a workboard or put it on a shelf someplace that you aren't going to let it dry or get beat up. You're going to put it on a workboard someplace so that it doesn't get damaged or bumped into. Okay? So by covering it all the way, the whole thing has to dry evenly. But that spot that I treated, I'm wrapping it with an extra piece of plastic so it can dry even slower. And in that way, we're going to have a nice even drying. And that should get rid of some of the cracking. If it still doesn't get rid of some of the cracking, they have something called a a damp box, and in the damp box you just put plaster at the bottom. You put water in there, and then you take your whole project and put it in the damp box, and it will make your project soft. It could make it so soft it makes it soggy. So this method, I think, is a little bit more, it's faster than using a damp box. But if your whole project is pretty dry, but you still got to add a lot to it, then the damp box is really good for that. All right, that's how we fix a crack. Okay, and when you're done, and you come back to it, it's all the same consistency. So the clay is all the same. Okay, and hopefully that crack has gone away. Sometimes, yes, it will come back in the firing, but this is a good way to try to stop that crack from happening. All right. It's a huge crack. It's massive. There's no coming back. They're 2 pieces. Oh no, what do I do? All right, same idea. Attempt to fix it. That doesn't mean it's a guaranteed fix, but you're trying to do your best to fix it, okay? A lot of times I'll just say, just start over, okay? This already has a lot of surface area, so it's not gonna be a big deal. I'm gonna come in here, put a lot of, this already has a lot of surface area, so I don't have to roughen it up with the scraper tool. So I don't have to use this. Yes?
Can I join on my iPad because my computer's about to die?
Sure.
Thank you.
So you slip it up. The crack is huge. It broke in 2 pieces, broke in half. Slip, slip. And I take them and I try to put them back together as best as possible. I'm really putting pressure to push them into each other. Okay. Same idea, use your kidney to smooth it out, or something flat to smooth it out. Same idea, use your kidney to smooth it out, or the edge of your knife, something flat to make it nice and smooth. My finger got in the way. Do the same thing for both sides. Don't just smooth one direction, go multiple directions so that you can, it can connect on both sides. Okay. Careful on your surface. If your surface is too smooth, it's going to stick to it, and you're not going to be happy with that. Okay. All right. So that's my 2-piece that cracked right in the middle. It broke, and I'm going to do the same thing. Wrap it very gently. If this is part of a larger project, just wrap it with a little piece of plastic like that, and then put a whole bag over it. Okay? And that's another way to fix a crack. Any questions you can ask, and I will try to help you out as best as I can.
Wait, so should I just put slip into my crack here and then cover it?
So I would do the first method I showed you with opening it up with the needle tool or scraper with this one, and then put slip inside of it. Yes.
Okay.
All right. Sometimes you'll get a crack along the edge here. come in here, make the valley, open it up a little bit more, mark it, really good. There's one on top also. Mark it really good. Then put your slip in there, push it in. Mark this side too. The marking is just creating lots of surface area for that slip to go inside and make a better joint. You want to join the two together so that it's almost like one piece of clay. You can't tell the difference. Okay, so here I just come in just like you would smooth out caulking in your bathroom or around the windows. And just go with your finger, push it in. If it's super fragile and you're not able to play with it as much as I'm playing with it here, then leave it a little rough and then come back later on when it dries a little bit, and then you can smooth it out. Okay? Because the best time to smooth clay out is when it's leather hard. Okay? Same idea. Wrap it with, with that plastic. Wrap it and then put another bag up and over the whole thing. When you're drying, or not drying, when you are when you're cutting slabs and you're not going to use them for the next day or so that they can all dry evenly, take your slabs, stack them on top of each other nice and neatly. So I have my designs, and you don't want to dry it unevenly. You want to dry it as evenly as possible. So you're going to put on a board and then cover them all together. Okay, so all these are here, and then cover it with a thick plastic. This little grocery bag plastic is not thick enough. The bag plastic that I like to use is the one that the clay actually comes in. It's a real heavy duty plastic. This bag is thick. It's a lot thicker than these. These are good for drying out if you want it to dry out, to control the drying. But these are good for drying out if you want to control the drying, because it's really thin. But this one is better for keeping it moist. So use this plastic to cover projects if you want to keep it moist and consistent. You do not want it to dry out. Now you can still dry out this with this plastic just by rolling it. You can still dry out this plastic with, you can still dry out this clay slowly by rolling it in the bag and just setting it on top like that. Air will go in, but it'll still hold some moisture in here, so it won't dry out too fast. So that is better than nothing. And this is a controlled dry. Okay, so just kind of gently wrap it so air can still go in on the sides, but it's a little bit more controlled. If I don't want it to get wet at all, I can double bag it, or triple, however many times you want to call that, and put it inside this one, and this will not dry out for the next time I come back. Now if I come back like a month later, it'll still be somewhat moist, but it'll be a lot more dry than if I come back in a week or two. Okay, So I would still check on it. I would still come and see how your project is doing before you go on summer vacation or you go someplace far away that you're not able to check on it. Okay. What do I do to my projects if I want to still work on them, but I don't have the time today? So I still come, pull them out of the bags carefully so you don't accidentally break them. And then I spray them. So I might make sure you get a decent amount of water. This is really wet. It's going to be sticky. Okay. But if I take this and put it back into the bag, it's going to dry out. And not dry out. If I take this and put it back into the bag, it's going to absorb the moisture. If I cover this plastic with the board will absorb some moisture. So if it's too wet, I would put it with the board in the bag. If it's really dry and I want it to dry out a little, if it's really dry and I want it to get a little or stay a little bit more wet, then I would bag it without the box. I'd put it in the bag without the board, and then I would bag it again. This will stay more moist or absorb more water than this than this method, because the board sometimes absorbs some moisture. This one, there is no board, so only the clay will absorb the moisture. Does that make sense for different ways to cover it? All right. Thank you for listening on thank you for watching for how to cover and how to repair clay that is cracking. So anytime like this clay right here, I'm not wanting to use it. I don't want it to dry out, but I'm not going to use it right now. I just ball it up, put it inside the bag, and then use it for later. I'm going to do the same thing with these. Save it for later so I'm not wasting clay. And then I make sure that I twist it really well. If I don't have a twist tie with me, I'll twist it under itself like that, so that it doesn't get any more moisture in there. Now there's air in there. Sorry. I'll twist it really well so that it doesn't get any air in there to dry. And then whatever air is in there will be okay. If there's too much air in there, take the air out first and then twist it and put it onto itself. Put a twist tie if you have one. If you don't have a twist tie, then do this weighted method. Thanks for watching.